Hello, in this tutorial, we are going to cover adding layouts to your React and Chakra UI based web application. We will learn how to define the layout, which includes your header, footer, body. It can also have the left side menu, which can switch between smaller size where only icons are visible or the full width size where the icon and the menu names are visible. It can also have a pop-up right side as side panel, which can be opened by clicking the icon, and that panel can be closed. So combining all of these layout components, you can create a dynamic web application layout, and that is the objective of this tutorial. So let's get started. Before I start working on this tutorial, I just wanted to let you know is that the code of this tutorial will be available at the same public code repo in the layout folder, and the code will have same folder structure. The data analytics demo start will have the base code, and we will be working on the data analytics demo final code. So you could clone this repo and get this folder. If you want to start working on this project, you can use the start folder, or if you just want to review the code which we are going to learn in this tutorial, then you can follow all that code in this folder. Here, as you could see, that both start and the final projects are identical. In this final project, I have already ran the npm install, so the node modules are already available, and that you could see here. And this project is already running, so it already has the npm start. This project has already downloaded all the required packages. As you can see that this project is running, and just to make sure we are using the same project, let's look into the index home, and that's where the index home, we can go look into the implementation. That's where coming here, and it should be updated here. So it means that we are working in this project, and the result of this project will be available here. Now, this is our objective. We are going to add the application layout to our project similar to this image. We have app header, we have app footer, app body, app menu, and we will call it app aside. Very first, this is the index or home page which is being rendered here. So what we will do is that we are going to take this code and comment it, because now we have full view available. We can make it flags. So there's a flags here, and we can add that flags component here. So this is the base code we have. Now we can look into our app layout and define it. So whole app layout will be implemented here in the implementation sections. So we could create a folder called app layout and define various components related with our project here. We will have app layout dot jsx, so that will be one app layout component. We are also going to have app header dot jsx. Let's have app footer dot jsx. Let's have app aside dot jsx, and we can also have the app sidebar dot jsx, which is your app menu here. So we have these 5 components we have just added, and they will be called here within this area. So we are going to call the app layout here in this index home. So we can say import app layout out from AppLayout and AppLayout. So that will be our component. Here we have AppLayout. We are going to say use the AppLayout here. So AppLayout is used here. This AppLayout will have, here we can define the component function. So we can say function AppLayout, and this function will have props here. Next, let's return text here to test here. Hello from layout. That's the layout is here. And next, you have to return default with the router app layout. So already added. React is not defined. We need to import React. We have React, and we also need import text from Chakra UI React. Hello from layout. So you could see that our layout is connected with index page here. Now in the application layout, we are going to call header, footer, and body at this point. So let's go to header, and we can just take this whole code, go to header, copy it here, just call it app header. So we have header. We will take here, go to footer, just call it footer, footer. Then we go to sidebar, sidebar, and the last is app aside. So we have created all these components. Now in the app layout, we are going to call import header, footer, import sidebar, app aside. We have all brought together. Now just for fun, we start from here. We say let's have the header, then we have app footer, we have app sidebar, and we have app aside. We don't need any of this. Now you could see that everything is coming in one line. It means those components are being rendered. One component we have missed here is app body.jsx, and let's call it app body. We have a body here, app layout. We have a body here to call. We have a body here. So here you could see that we were able to bring all those components here. Now this was our design. So app header must be at the top, app footer must be at the bottom, and app body is something like that, and then app aside is a pop-up, app menu or app sidebar is left here. Now we need to start thinking this and start designing this way. Let's start working with app header here. App header, let's make sure that its width is 100% and its height is 100 px. It means this is 100 pixel height, but the width is 100%. So that's the app header. Here we are, and here is the app header. Now we come to the app header implementation, and here we define the app header as is a vertical stack. Width is equal to 100% and height is equal to 100 px. Okay, so we have app header. Now we have the body. So what we could do is that we could define the flex component, which is 100% of width, and body, sidebar and aside are part of that here. Let's add flex here, and app footer is also at the bottom. So thus we have that way. So vstack, you define vstack and make it width 100%, and you wrap this whole thing in, and you will see that this whole section right now, the header, what we could do is that we could say, let's do the bg equals gray 200. You see, this is your app. For the footer, we can come here, we can go something similar like the header here. Call it 400. Your footer is there, header, footer. Now if we look into the layout and where this body section is, because the sidebar and aside also needs to be fit within in this area, but what we could do for the body section is that in this body where we are here, we could define a vertical stack, or you can have a box. There are several ways it can be done. I will define vertical section, and I will say the height is equal to 100% vertical height. Let's save it. Now you can see here that this changes, and now the body became vertical height. Now we also have the 100 pixel at the top and 100 pixel at the bottom. So what we need is that we need to have the 100 pixel 100% vertical height minus 200 pixels. So you could calculate it, and you can say calculate 100 vertical height minus 200 pixel, and as you could see here, by that way our vertical height, so header and footer are being decided and the body is being adjusted. So just by making those few changes, we could generate the layout here. Now the app body is here, and we are looking for a way to create the aside component here. So we can go to app body, and aside we can move from here and move that component to the body here right now. Layout, pick aside, body here, and that component aside is actually going to be designed in a way that it actually is a right side here. So for now we are using vertical stack in that scenario, which is, so we can say let's use the horizontal stack, and we define a vertical stack here, which is width is 100%. Okay, and because it's a body, we can color it bg equals blue 100. So that's is our horizontal stack. Let's add here. Now you could see here we are this way, and then what we need is that app aside. So app aside is here. Let's stop the sidebar. So we have body here, and in this scenario we just call it bg equals blue 200. So you could see here this whole area is center area, body is here, and within the body we have these two components. So we can come and fix body here. In order to get this v stack, we need to get height. So we could say height is equal 100%. So it's gonna inherit all the height from its parent. Same thing here, height is equal to 100% for app aside, and we can also say bg equals that's your aside, and we still need to define this properly because app aside is our component. We are here, so we can say vertical aside, vertical stack, and height is equal to 100% from its parent, width is equal to 200 px, as you can see here that app aside is here 200 px, and let's see, we have app body, so we are using height is 100%, width is 100%, and there is an app aside, and here the width for this is going to be, we want app body to app body here horizontal stack, take the width is 100%, so it's going to take everything, and now the app aside height is 100%, but the width is 200 px. If we say 300 px, you could see that is, so in this scenario if this is growing, you can see that aside is fixed, body is growing. So we have that, and color is really telling us that we do have some gaps built into, so we need to fix those gaps as well. We have header, footer, body, and app aside, which is basically a drawer or it's a pop-up, and then we also need to create the left side menu here. In the body here we can actually call it, we can come to layout, we don't need sidebar to here. So we have sidebar here, we can call for here. Okay. App sidebar is here, as you could see, and if we look into the app sidebar, which is similar to app aside, we will fix it a little later, but right now we call it app sidebar here, and we need vstack here. Here we could see, and this is also fixed 250, and we call it green 200. It's a little different color. Now if we try to move it, you could see that your sidebar is width 250, height 100%, and if we look into the body, how it is really being designed, so here we have width is 100% for this body, and this part is 250, width is fixed here for the sidebar, and we could use the sidebar color is red. So we have all these colors are side. Now we have all 5 components are designed, and as you could see here, this width is little changing depending on the page. It's not really fixed. It's like a min and max is not fixed for this one. So what we could do just to lock it, there are a couple of ways you could do. One way is to make this thing with a style. So you can say style equals min width 200 px 250 px. Okay, and you can also say max width is also 250 px. So that way is going to be sidebar is always going to be fixed. So if we try to move it, you will see that it's not, this section will not going to change in any way because min and max it's set. Same thing we could do to right side. Here aside, $300, $300, and doing this, now everything is fixed. So only body is growing, left and right side are fixed, and our footer is fixed, and our header is fixed. In our next step, now we are going to work in this app's sidebar section, and we will try to toggle it in a way that we could make it bigger or smaller depending on, if you click it, it will become a smaller, means the icons can be shown, or if it expanded, then whole menu items will be shown here. So let's app sidebar, open the app sidebar. Here we are in the app sidebar. So we are going to write this function in a way that a toggle can be created. So here we are. What we are going to do is that in this area, so we are using VStack here. Okay, so let's first add a box which width is going to be 100%. Define its height is 40 pixel, and we can say that align here is to the align is going to be the end here. So we have box added here. Let's add the box in this import. So now we have box here. So now you could see that box is available here, and that text is coming from there. We can also make sure that this box has a padding, but before we go, we try to add a button, and we can say button has a property called left icon. So we can say left icon for this button is going to be, for example, we call it FA arrow left, I think arrow left here. Close it. Let's add this button in the list as well. So you see the button is there. Let's try to make size is small. So it's a small button size, and then in this box we can add the padding equals 1. So everything is here. So the button is there, and that button is going to be click here, and then this panel will be smaller size, and then when button clicks back there, it can be expanded here. Next, we are going to add a toggle function here. So let's add a toggle. So we can say const, and we just call it toggle panel. In the toggle panel, we are performing certain actions. So here we are button. We can add this event on click, and that is going to call this toggle panel. Now the toggle event is there. Now we need to update this. So there are two things going to happen. When this button will be clicked, the width will be small, then and arrow direction will change. And next, when you click back, then the panel width back to normal, then the arrow will change again. So let's try to set the size. So we are going to use in this section, let's define const. So we are defining panel size and set size, which is going to use react use state, and the default or first your minimum size is here 250. So that's where 250 size is here. And when this toggle is going to happen, it's going to call the set size, and set size, it will say that if this size is equal to 250, if it's that, then make it 50, otherwise keep it 250. So size, okay, if it is 50, then make it 250, otherwise put back to 50. There you go. So that way, so initial size is 250, so size can switch back here. Now we need to change this width, and in order to change this width, we just need to convert this in a way, so this, and we need to call it size plus. So size plus will be used here. Same thing we could do here, size plus, size plus. So now this size is updated. Now if we try to click here, you could see that your toggle is working. That's all you really needed, that you update this size and toggle is working. If you want to change this arrow now, so you need another constant, and you call it icon name, and we call it set icon name, and here you use the name. So you have FA arrow left, and something similar to this function we will use set icon name. Icon name is added, we will call set icon name, and it will use the same logic here, that if size is equal to 50, we want the icon should be left, otherwise icon should be right. Once we have this, now if we can try, there you go. That's all you really need. So now you have your left side panel is also updated. Next, we will try to look into this border part and try to make sure that we understood it correctly. So here, let's go back to our layout. Here we are using layout. Here we have vertical stack, and if we look into the body here, so we could actually make it box, and we can also make it box and add the box here, and combining that, you will see that the gap is all gone, and that was only because when we are using a stack, it comes with some margin by itself. So changing it box, we fix those margins. So now we are seeing it much more clear. Second, the footer is really very tall, so the better should be that we can make footer 40 pixel. Now we need to adjust the body height. So body height is should be 160 or 140. There you go. So now the footer is there. If we want to add the border top line top of the footer, so we can actually define the footer in a way is that we have here footer, we can say footer border top equals 1px, and you could see there is a dark line is available here, but which shows the borders there, and you can say border color, and you just call it gray, and a very fine, maybe fine line, and then because this is gray, and make it gray 100, and that's how you are going to generate this effect. Looks like that footer here. Same thing we could do at the header. In the header, we come here, and in the header space, we could say that let's do border bottom, because we are header, so we need a bottom border. So border bottom is 1 px, and border color is gray. Let's call it 300. So now we have a border, and then we can, here as you could see here that there is a border effect is also available. So that's our header and footer we have. And at this point, if you look into this aside, we have created this, which can also be designed for similar to this way aside, or you could have these menu option available where you can select how you really want to do. So I will leave it as it is for you, and for now, for the sake of design, I will close this right side panel. So you have designed something like this. So you could see this is how your panel is designed. The next step we have is to add the drawer or a floating panel design, and that will look like this way. So if we want to create a side like this way, where it is coming out at the top, and that will come if we add a button here which clicks, and by clicking that, the top drawer or the panel comes out, and then clicking close button, it closes out and the state goes to back, similar. So we are trying to add that top of it. Here we are at the header. Let's understand how the drawer works here. So here you could see this is a drawer. When you click on here, this is drawer comes and works here. So we need to add these in our code. So let's add these components which we are importing from Chakra UI. Then we can use this whole code from here to here to use with this drawer. So here we already are, this is our whole top area. So what we call it, we can here we add a horizontal stack here. We call it 100%. Height is also 100%, is taking from parent. Here we have, and at this point we will define a box width. We just call it 400 pixel, and height is going to 100% here. And if you see box is not here, I will add box here, and then I will add a spacer here, and I will be adding another box width 100 pixel, and height will be 100% here. And inside this box I will add this whole which we have just added here, and I will explain one by one everything. So here you could see that inside this box, so we need to add button. We also need is open, so this everything, so we need input. Rest is all these definitions which we are using here, so we could call them here. Use disclosure, and use disclosure is part of Chakra UI React, so you can use it. You can use disclosure, and everything is okay. Here you could see open button is there. When you use it, that can be added here. So that's all very quickly we have added here. So that's our button. If we do not want that button, we can call it gray, and we don't use this, and here we just call it left icon and FA bars, and that's the bars. Now here you could see that button drawer is there. We click it, we close it, and that panel is added here. If we want to make it much more clear and cleaner, what you could do is that you actually add a component here, and that component can open this sidebar when we click here. So to do that, you can create a new file. We are just going to create a component. We call it aside, new file, aside switcher.jsx. Here we have, and in this aside switcher, we just really need to bring a lots of this code here. So we will use this, we need this, then we are going to call this use this all code. Okay, and here we just, rather than this, we just call it export constant, and we just call it aside switcher, and which is going to take props. And there you go. So we very quickly we have built this thing. It's using almost, we don't really need router here, and that aside switcher is using this also. So if you look into here, we do not need all of this code. So we need this code here. Exactly, we just need button and drawer. So which we had here, button and drawer. We don't need this whole button and drawer here, and we just need to call import aside switcher and take this aside switcher. As you see, there is no aside switcher here. Now add that. It's much more cleaner now. So only aside switcher is called, and if you look into here, we are not using any of this, not using this. Use disclosure because everything much more clean. So we have added right side panel here too, and in this aside switcher you could see if you can remove whatever extra of these class components are not needed. So we have completed this. If we want to header, which I was working here, if you want to just call it center, and you call it logo is here, so center is needed. Let's add the center here. So if you could see here, okay, let's do background color is pink. Here you could see this is area is pink, p equals 1, so 1 padding. So here you can see that center here, so we need to go horizontal stay, 1 padding. Here we can say rounded is MD. So this logo you could see here, and we have center, height, everything. So it looks like it can be, logo is there. If we want to bring that color switcher, we could actually bring here. So you can say import color mode switcher, and as you see that applying this really works. So color mode switcher is here, and it's, we can make it this more bigger, and actually this is stacking right now. So we could say let's align end, align is end. So this is okay, and this one we could say make it and center, because we need to put center, so height is not taking from parent. So we can say take height from parent. So logo, it will be center. Now if we have width here, and if we want color switcher is not justified here, it's supposed to be added here. So stack is there, and then this spacer is added here, so which create a space between these two. So if you look here, when we are expanding it, that spacer is adding. So if we have simple grid, it has the columns. You can add columns too. And that's where it is. So now you can add these columns, and here you just call it box. So you have box here. If you want to add the padding right 5, so this padding is also properly added. The spacing can be adjusted, but hopefully you get an idea that how you could adjust it. So now let's recap what we have covered in this tutorial. We started from an empty web application which was based on React and Chakra UI, and we have added the app layouts, and that app layout consisted with various components such as app header, app footer, app body, app aside, as well as it also had that app pop-up drawer. We learned how we could combine all of these components together and generate a desired layout for our web application. So that's all in this tutorial, and I will see you in my next tutorial. That's all, my friends. If you have enjoyed our content, please like it, share it, subscribe it. And finally, please remember, be good and do good. Thank you.